Welcome to the Aloha Hour podcast, episode number 83.
83.
Oh, we made it this far. And we want to take it back to one of the best podcasts we've ever had, because this man is just ultrally informed, inquisitive, and to me, one of my favorite question askers, for lack of better terms. We know.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I feel like, this is our first guest that we have the second time, right? That we run it back. It's the first time, and this is because there's so much corruption and there's so much shit going on in our state that he can come in. Unfortunately, we can bring him at least once a year. There's going to be still enough to talk about.
Yes, every year.
I'm going to make a short introduction of our guest of today. He grew up on the Big Island and attended the University of Hawaii at Hilo and Minnesota State University, where he obtained his degree in education. He was a public school teacher for 8 years at King Kamehameha School in Lahaina. He also is a former student fellow at the Foundation for Economic Education and now serves as the Executive Vice President for Grassroots Hawaii. Joe Kent.
Hey,
how you doing, man?
Thank you. Good.
EVP.
Good. Yes. And thanks for having me again, too.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. When you said, someone's a really intelligent person, I thought you were talking about him, actually. At first.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Yeah, it's very fair.
No, thanks for having me on. It's been so fun to be on here before, and, I'll go answer any questions you want. So, yeah.
Well, there's definitely a lot of things that we see happening. Sometimes we're optimistic and we feel it's going to get better. And I know our last episode, you have mentioned multiple ways how the state could get better. But unfortunately, I have the feeling that they didn't take none of them into consideration.
They didn't listen. Huh?
They didn't listen.
Oh, no.
And we're still in the same predicament of...
Yeah, that's right. Well, we still have got the rail is going. We've got the Aloha Stadium now.
Going by,
of course. So these are big boondoggle projects. Have we learned our lesson from these things? And now they're talking about making the rail go even further. And they're not even asking the people. They're just doing it, And
really?
so
Further past where?
So the rail right now is going to end at the city center, which is basically this grass field that's like a mile away from Ala Moana.
Okay.
There's like a little Toyota repair shop right
It's
there.
Kaka'ako.
Yeah, it's Kaka'ako right there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. And the reason they couldn't go all the way to Ala Moana is they ran out of funds, actually. They just ran out of money. So they said, okay, I guess we just have to stop here. And it's right next to this like coffee shop, actually. So I think that coffee shop's going to get a ton of new customers now. But basically, if they want to move forward, they can either put it up to a vote of the people, which I think they should do, or they can just start moving forward, which is what they're actually doing. They're putting all these new plans together of like, okay, how much would it cost? And let's get a contractor. And I'm like, wait a second here. Back when the rail was first started, they put it up to a vote of the people. And they said, okay, we need everyone to vote, in a major election. Everyone voted, and it came down to the rail passed at 53%, I believe.
Wow.
That's how close it was. And the pro-rail lobby outspent the anti-rail lobby by 5-1. So they were really spending to get the votes up, right? So it just passed by a squeaker. Okay, well, now here we are. And my question, did we learn our lesson, right? This is the most expensive rail project per capita in the world. $10 billion. This is a huge amount for just 1 million people in a very small state. And so, okay, that's done. We're fine. Okay, we're done with that. But how much would going further cost? How much actually would it cost to go to Ala Moana or UH Manoa or even Waikiki? These are the things that they're talking about. And so my thing is, let's just hold on and take a breath and ask the people what should we do. So.
I think I will let's reverse.
Yeah, yeah.
Before you ask the people.
Okay,
You have
okay.
to prove of concept. It has to be proof of concept.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have a proof of concept. People are not using the rail. People realize that it's shorter, it's faster to get stuck in traffic because you have to, in order to take the rail, you have to take your car, park it, board the rail, ride the rail, but then you still have to take public transportation because the rail doesn't get you exactly where you want. So it's either you have to take an Uber, public transportation, a taxi, or something to still reach your final destination. So people realized it's not worth it, and barely people ride it. Now,
Yeah.
if there would be lines out the door, everybody wants to ride the rail is cranking, making money. Fuck yeah, don't ask us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have the proof of concept. It's working. You did great.
Yeah.
But not working, not being efficient, not working for the people, and yet still decide to extend
Right, right.
the fucking
Yeah, yeah. They're going without the customers right now. I mean, if this was a business, this would be the most failed business that you've ever heard of, right? I went and rode the rail recently, and I was like the only one on there except for a security guard or maybe one other person. This is like during rush hour, by the way. And if you've ever been in traffic and you look at the rail, it's like, is anyone on there? Are those people or are those just the backs of seats, you know? I mean, it's empty, basically. I mean, and so it seems funny right now to say, okay, let's build more, you know, the people want this. Well, it doesn't look like it. Now, they said after it first opened, well, don't worry, it'll gain more ridership in a year, you know. Well, here we are, you know, a year or two later, it's still floundering. And then in the future, what kind of transportation are we going to have? Are we going to have automated vehicles that, you know, pick up several passengers on the way? You might have an automated bus or something. And
Not Uber, but Tesla is already testing their unmanned vehicles.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean? Like, and there's even options for at one point for drivers or owners of Tesla to use their car. Like, I'm not using it. Send it as a robo taxi.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, to go do it for you. Like, and that's like really close.
And we got Beaky now, and we got all kind of hoverboards, you know. Like, who knows what there's going to be in 10 years from now. By the way, 10 years from now, that's when the rail is supposed to be finished to just a mile away from Ala Moana. That's when it's supposed to be done, you know. And so, actually, it's 2031, so that's a little less than 10 years. But still, you know, it's a long time. What will the world look like in transportation then? So, yeah, it could be very different. And maybe at that point we'll say, why did we build this thing in the first place?
I mean, it's mind-boggling. I can't understand it.
It was just a mastermind move, in my opinion, from some very smart people who know how to make money. And then they went in, made their money or making their money, and we're all just victims of it. You know what I mean? Because we got to foot the bill.
Right.
Because they were able to get some politicians to agree to make it happen, you know? I don't know. It's
Well, let it stand as a monument to our stupidity.
bruh, if there's any.
And also, we need to learn our lessons. So we've got another big government project in the works right now called the Aloha Stadium, right? And this is one where they're going to demolish it in, I think, a month from when this is being recorded here. Maybe in October, November, they're going to start demolishing it. Now, the weird thing here is that the legislature gave like $350 million to build the stadium. But the contract had to be signed on July 1st of 2025, this year. And so this summer, the question is, did they actually sign the contract by the deadline or not? Because if they didn't sign the contract, all that money is supposed to go back into the state coffers, right? And that means we could use it for other things like homelessness and housing and roads and all these other things that we need, you know, sewer fees and stuff. So now I've been asking for the contract. There's this law in Hawaii that says UIPA, Uniform Information Practices Act, meaning if you ask the government for any documents, they have to give it to you. And I asked the government, can you show me the contract? And they said, no, we can't. Well, it's October now, and I don't even know if the contract was signed in time. And meanwhile, they're just continuing to act as if this is like going forward. So now they tell me that, well, one of the contracts were signed, but not all of the contracts, and we're still working on it. And I'm like, well, if not all the contracts were signed, then how can you move forward already? If the money is supposed to go away. So this is like the type of, I don't want to call it corruption because it's within the rules, so to speak, but it is the way things move forward. A lot of backroom deals, behind the scenes types of activities.
Of course, everybody wants to get their piece of it.
Their little piece of
and that's
the
why
pie.
you want my signature? Perfect. I want you to donate so and so much out of that for my nonprofit, which my wife sits on the board, and she gets $450,000 a year, and we need that money because we want to travel.
Yep.
So of
it
course,
goes
everybody
around.
is hooking themselves up.
Now, just like the rail, the Aloha Stadium is also increasing in costs, and so we heard 350 million, but now we're hearing 450 million, and we need to do this extra thing around it. That's going to cost 200 million. And we need to dig the infrastructure. That's going to cost a couple $100 million. And pretty soon it's like, wait a second, this is $1 billion. It's not 350 million anymore, and someone needs to watch the contract just to make sure that the money stays within budget. So, at the Grassroots Institute where I'm working, we're just a government watchdog, and we think we can ask, but we want other people to ask too, what's really going on with these big projects, because unless the people hold the government and the politicians accountable, they can just get away with whatever they want.
It's the old technique where if cost of living is so high that you have to work 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, you don't have time or effort or energy to go and spend your time in questioning those politicians. It's easier to say, look, I myself cannot change anything, so let me just go do the best I can. Let me care for my family. Let me save some money aside because I don't have time to fight.
Yeah.
But it's a catch-22 because you don't fight and this guy doesn't fight, so they continue to do it, and then it's just a spiral.
Right. So that's what our whole think tank is about at Grassroots Institute is everyone's busy. They're too busy. They're trying to afford the cost of living. They don't have time to read the contract of the Aloha Stadium and all this. And so we do that work for them and try to put it in an email and try to make funny memes, on Instagram and so on, so that at least some people can get information. And the way they get it these days is you got to be funny. You have to make jokes. And so we try to do that on our Instagram.
I think we're at a point where we can get dramatic. You know what I mean? We're at a point of life where we can just start to be honest.
That's a good point.
And start pointing out what kind of future this leads to. Because I think again, we've been taking shots at it so much, people start to pull less interest into it. I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for myself because it does take a lot of energy and a lot of emotional exertion because it's just so fucking wild, bro. And you just don't believe it. It's to the point where what's next already? Right? We're just so accustomed to being, for lack of better terms, fucked in the ass that it's like, okay, well, what else are you gonna shove up there? You know what I mean? You've already opened the hole. You know what I'm saying? It's just wild, bro.
And that's why so many people are leaving the state right now. They're just it takes too much time to fight and too much money. I don't have all this. It's easier to just leave. And we used to see revolts, the tax revolt. Taxes are too high. People would revolt, and then the politicians would get scared and react, right? We're not seeing those types of revolts anymore, but we are seeing those revolts move to the airport, there's a long line at the airport of people leaving, and if you look at the statistics, Hawaii has lost population since 2016 every single year. Tens of thousands of families leaving for a better life elsewhere, unfortunately. And that's because of, there's just no place to live. You've got the housing crisis, you've got the job crisis, and on and on. So, yeah.
I saw a thing yesterday, a woman was just arguing or just complaining, and she had stated like, really, like a 1.1 average $1 million home is an average home. You mean to tell me? And she was saying, me and my other half have to make 6 figures to afford to live in Hawaii. That's fucking obscene, bro.
Yeah.
That's really obscene. I work 3 jobs, bro.
And mind you, for 1.1 million, you get a single wall construction, which in order to live in, you still have to renovate and have to put cash money just to renovate.
Yes.
In addition to what you just paid at the down payment, in addition to what you're going to pay for the mortgage, the insurance, and yada, 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 now you have to actually renovate it because you cannot live there.
Yeah.
It was built in 1949.
That's why I got self-installation. All the single wall homes. This is why we're like this, bro.
That's right. You got the hood already. Yeah, that's right. Well, it's true. You pay $1 million, and it's not like $1 million home on the mainland. This is a shack. I stood outside my mother-in-law's home the other day and took a video of like, this is what a $1 million home looks like, right, in Hawaii. And, people in the comment section could not believe that this was $1 million home. It looked like, a $200,000 home on the mainland somewhere. And so yes, these homes have cracks in the walls. If you're in a condo, the elevator's broken. You've got busted pipes, and that's now leading to a big insurance crisis, where insurance rates are going up, thousands of percent. I mean, I know people who can't even get insurance anymore in their condo, and that means if you can't get insurance, then you can't get the loan relies on the insurance, so that means your loan fails, and then it goes into this like death spiral all of a sudden, and then you have to like sell the home. So try to imagine like all of these condominium owners, unit owners in a whole condo, their insurance, either it spikes or they just can't find insurance. All of those people have to now sell their home, and this is what people are calling us at the Grassroots Institute. Like, you're telling me I have to sell my home just because I can't get the insurance? And well, what are they going to do if they sell? If a condo empties out, what do? You blow it up, right? And this is what I'm predicting, is that all of these old homes and really old condominiums built in the 40s and 50s and 60s, over the next 10 years, we might see demolitions galore across Hawaii. And that would be sad, but on the other side, it would enable some new building too. So there's a flip side to that. But just think of all the families' lives that are going to be disrupted. Now, why are there so many cracks in the walls and the elevator, and why couldn't they fix these things? Part of it is a cultural thing. In Hawaii, condominiums have been here since the beginning, basically. But this is like a new concept nationally. And the practice has always been, let's just save for next year. Let's keep our, HOA rates down and keep all of these so we can afford, and not invest in what actually is needed. We need a new elevator. We need a new paint job and all this stuff. And so over time, the baby boomers basically saved a bunch of money living in these places for generations. And now the millennials, the Gen Z, are buying these places and saying, wait a second, no one maintained this, and now we have to pay for it. So yeah, it's part of it's a cultural thing, but part of it is that it does. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say it's a cultural thing. I think, saying it's a cultural is like giving it too much of an excuse.
That's true. That's true.
Again, comes back to they don't have money. When you have to decide, will I put food on the table or fix the cracks in the staircase? You're like, I need food on the fucking table.
Yeah.
I'll save. Next year going to be better. I'll work harder. Next year will be better.
Yeah.
And then next year, because by the end of the day, you need to eat. You want to go out. You want to live your life, and you postpone it until postponing is no longer an option.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then it's too little, too late.
Yeah, that's
but it's
true.
not a culture where they don't want to do it. If they had the money, they would do it for day one.
Yeah.
It's again, the cost of living is so high, and you cannot afford. And you have to make those hard decisions. Should I send my kid to a school? Should I send them to preschool so I can go work?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
imagine when you send your kid to preschool so you can go to work. You spend that money on preschool, you only get left with maybe $300-400.
Yeah.
So you work the whole month. You're now with your kid, and you only have $300 because you have to pay everything in $1,500, $2,300 for preschool.
Preach.
Well, and I've been going to I've been going into the schools, by the way, trying to talk about this. I'll go to an elementary school. By the way, if there's any public school teachers that want me to talk about Hawaii's cost of living in your classroom, I'm happy to come and talk about all this.
Any grade?
Actually, I go 5th grade on up. So yeah. And
Do tell, how do you approach a 5th grader talking about their dire
okay,
future?
so I bring
Hey, just let you know, we fucked up,
And you
so
fucked
you gotta pay all the bills. Like, sorry, kiddo.
I start the 5th grade class and I start handing out tax forms. Okay, we're gonna fill out the tax forms.
That actually would be great, because I really had wish I learned mine at that
This
age.
is called a W-2, kids. No, but I start out actually with a game of life. You know that old board game, you know, everyone's a winner in the game of life.
Yeah.
And actually in Hawaii, that's not the case.
The irony.
But I say, okay, we're in the game of life. You have to afford life in Hawaii. How much does it cost? So let's buy a home. Let's start with a job, first of all. Do both of the parents work, or just one of the parents? How many kids do you have? How old are the kids, right? So we start with that. Okay, now let's all go to Zillow class, you know, and so it's like magic school bus. Okay, follow me, and we go to Zillow, and we're like all as a class trying to choose which home to buy. And the kids are always like, no, buy the $1 million home, 2 million, you know.
Yeah.
And then okay, but you got to be able to afford it. Okay, now here's the car, you know, here's groceries, and we go down the whole family budget. And one of the biggest factors, by the way, is what you mentioned, is childcare. Because are you gonna, you know, and that's what kills most of the budgets of these students when they try to do it. It's like, oh, we just, you know, we're in the red now because we can't pay for the childcare. And so then I start asking, well, how do people in Hawaii make it? How do you do this childcare? And really, it's if you have a relative, you know, if you have a grandma nearby, popo nearby, then that saves so much money. You know, even just for my own personal life. That's how I came up with this lesson plan. Is my wife and I, we're going through our actual personal family budget, and we're like, well, how are we going to afford this, right? And we were even thinking of moving away at one point, except for the childcare. We have grandma nearby. She can take care of the kids. And that was enough to make it so we can afford life in Hawaii, you know. But that's a luxury, though. You know, not everyone has that. And
Yes.
so
We don't have our grandparents, being my other halves, and my parents can't take care of our daughters. So my other half basically runs the whole thing at home, and I just have to work all day, just figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
And that's to survive. It's not
Yeah.
even like thriving, not looking to invest in a home anytime soon. It's just,
Right.
it's nuts, bro.
Yeah. And then you better make sure when you get home that your significant other knows that you're exhausted and now, but still, you're still punched in when you come home. You got to take care of the kids and all that stuff. So, yeah.
And then so that whole white picket fence
Yeah.
dream we were sold in our generation is definitely not available in Hawaii. You know, where you would be a 9 to 5, husband goes out to work, comes home, wife's got a nice dinner, family's happy. You know, that whole thing is out the window, bro. Like, it's literally like slave trade over here.
Yeah.
Because you got to imagine, like, too, you know, what's our biggest selling point of Hawaii is the experience, right? Our tourism. Like, it's everybody wants to come experience it. But if the people who are showing the tourists and giving them the experience can't afford to live here, what are we selling them?
Yeah.
After that,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? We're not selling them anything. We're selling them some different, you know, utopian Miami version of
Yeah, it's a
Aloha
dream.
spirit, right?
That's right. Hmm.
Because, geez, the cost of living is way too high for what, the wages are.
Yeah,
And that's because the cost of living is insane. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
the wages are great here, I think. What do you think?
You know, only recently they elevated the minimum wage to $14. That happens. That happened this year, if I'm not mistaken. Before that, it was 10. Before that, it was 7.25.
Bruh.
You cannot live here with this kind of wages. That's why everybody is going to be union workers. But then the union workers are also being, again, by the end of the day, it's if the big corporation don't want to share the profits,
Yeah.
and they don't see everybody's well-being as part of their P&L, the profit and loss statement, and it's not one of the lines that they have,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not going to work, because if they're trying to make as much as possible and pay as least as possible, we have to work in multiple jobs that make as least as possible to kind of get around.
Well, and I see it in the classroom at the end of the lesson. I will ask the kids, okay, so what are you going to do with your life? And for many of them, this is 5th grade, but also all the way up to high school. This is the first time they've ever thought about that. How am I going to organize? What's my plan? And some people,
YouTube, duh.
yeah, yeah. Influencer.
YouTube.
I know, and some of the kids though, they actually are inspired by it. They're like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to work 2 jobs. I'm going to do, and I'm like, do you know what it takes to be an entrepreneur in Hawaii? You might not see your family very much. You might be working 2, 3, 4 jobs, and you might be taking on all kinds of risk. And are
Actually,
you really
according
prepared?
to Forbes magazine, the state of Hawaii is the hardest state to be self-employed.
That's right. That's right.
And according to Forbes magazine, the hardest is to be a contractor over here. I don't know why they
That's
chose
right.
contractor, but it seems like the contractors actually make good money over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
But it is very, very hard to be here self-employed. But I ask myself, except you that are the angry locals, and you talk about the disparity, you talk about the unjust, you sing about that like a real rap. Because rap usually was always like talk about the feelings, what's happening about, right? In Hawaii, everybody sings about women, whiskey, party, and all those big guys, right? Where are all the actors? Where are all the famous people? Where are all the UFC fighters? Where are all those people that actually have a voice in the community and have tons of thousands of followers, and that it can actually bring awareness? Nobody wants to deal with it. And then you have Joe Kent, that is a vice president in a grassroots, that just trying to do the best they can and, pumping out content. But people are so tired of that because they know they're getting taken advantage of. And they just want to so we need more performers, more bands, more groups, more people to protest. Because look what happened with Mauna Kea. Look what happened with Mauna Kea. It's the perfect example. A little bit of Jason Momoa, a little bit of famous people, a little bit of The Rock, and shit changed, right? Everybody wants us to stand in solidarity, right? Where's the solidarity with our day-to-day? Where?
Yeah, but I totally agree. Mauna Kea was a different animal, though. Mauna Kea was built on years, and it wasn't just the telescope. It was, the telescope already had been there unjustly for decades. You're looking at decades of mismanagement, generations. You're talking about kupuna who are there from babies, and then they're old now, and they've seen how bad it was. So it's a little bit of a deeper attack, so much that Jason came, you know what I mean? And, Jason, if you look at it, I'm not saying this is anything of him. I think he's doing the Hawaiian culture fantastically. But it was also a great move for him, you know what I mean? Because then he could get into the Lahui and start learning more for what he wanted to know. He was still Jason Momoa. You're still Hollywood. You're not like invited to the backyard parties yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he was wholeheartedly wanted to get into it. I think the rest formed pressure for everyone, and because it was such a deep-rooted issue beyond the telescopes, you know, because you're looking at like Po Hakuloa, which is like the military lands, right? That keeps getting bombed. You're
And
looking
that's
at
the new one right now. I mean, that's it. The politicians are talking about that one right now.
Oh, because they got to renew the contract.
Yeah, they have to renew the lease. Exactly.
and it's not doing well for Hawaiians, you know, but
But that was all. The telescope was an interesting example of politicians are not leaders.
yes,
At the end of the day, they are followers, right?
Yeah.
And if the people rise up and tell politicians, you know, and demand what they want, politicians will actually buckle. I mean, if you remember David Ige, who was the governor at the time, you know, the most powerful politician in Hawaii, you know, on his knees, basically, during those protests, and I don't think he knew what to do, you know, and
he hated it, bro. I remember seeing a clip of him forced to visit the Mauna because there was so much traction, and you could see the disdain on his face. Like I was just like, you lost a big bag, bro. That's all I know. Like, you know, and yeah.
But the same thing could happen for other issues. But like you said, you know, there was a groundswell there that was building for decades and decades. You know, now for Hawaii's cost of living, or corruption, or you know, rail, or any other thing, if enough people actually rose up and took the power back from the politicians, it could happen. But what's missing, I think, is education and sort of organization, basically.
I can tell you right now, if there's 5,000, it doesn't have to be the whole island, but 5,000 people go to the state capitol, nobody goes to work, nobody goes
that's
in,
true.
we're going to be here, we're going to protest. 5,000 people, nobody moves. Nobody fucking moves. We don't want the rail. You want the rail? We want to see you first ride the rail. If you show me you go to work for 1 whole month, every day on the fucking rail, we'll pay for it. But none of you take the rail. None of you want the rail. You just want the fucking money that you're going to get to your pockets. There is a way. We need to take Mauna Kea as an example for an uprise. Just like when we had Brandon Makaava, and he was telling us the story when him and his family and his uncle and all of them, they said, no, we in Waimanalo, we're not going to leave, bro. We're not leaving. That's it. That's gone. We're here. What did the state do? Gave them land as a gift. Gave them land. Let me repeat that. Gave them land as a gift. Millions of dollars as a gift. Shh, just so they won't have to deal with this crap. We the people have the power, but we the people are tired because we work 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. Some of us 7 days a week. Some of us even more than that. Some of us in the free time, they Uber.
So what do you think stopping building of the rail would do? You think that would be a good start?
Well, if you stop it
more-
now, yeah, nothing's going to happen. That's the thing. The money's already spent. You know, they're building it, and even if you saved it right now, you might save what, $500 million, which in the grand scheme of things is a drop in the bucket. But you know, $500 million is a lot of money.
It's more
but
to
still.
teach a lesson, my friend.
Yeah.
It's more to teach them a lesson. We're stop being suckers. We're done with being taken advantage of on a daily basis, on a weekly, monthly, yearly, for centuries.
No, that's a good point.
We're done.
Yes.
And if they know that we're gonna, we're gonna come and say, hey, that's not okay, they're gonna think twice.
Well, the main thing I'm going at is don't continue it, you know. I mean, don't go at, how much more is this going to cost? Billion, 10 billion more, you know, it could be actually. And so you're right, stopping it or making a strong statement like this is the end of the line, that could actually be really useful, you know.
So, you know, the rail, in my opinion, whether it goes or not doesn't even affect me because I don't see it, I don't use it. And, you know,
You're paying
taxes
for it,
are
though.
taxes are always going to be taxes.
Yeah. Mhm.
But to find something that directly
Impacts
affects
your
you
life.
is cost of living, housing crisis, right? Like, how can
That's
we
true.
take that energy
Yeah.
and what is an angle for us
good point.
to work out a solution for keeping our people of Hawaii in Hawaii?
Last year, it took 500 days on average to get through the permitting department. This is last year. If you want to build a multifamily home, a multifamily unit in Honolulu, you'd have to spend 500 days. Well, that's more than a year, of course.
Or a brand new pair of knee pads, yeah. I know, I've heard about the stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you ask the department, they're saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're using AI, we're using technology, we're doing it, we're quickening the process." And
Are they saying that?
yes, they are. They're saying they're using all kinds of technology to help.
So
and-
basically, what happened? Our current mayor ran on one of the things he ran is to expedite the DPP, the Department of Planning and Permitting. He's going to expedite the process. He is a businessman. He understands. And he got all of us behind him because we said, oh, there's a businessman. He understands. And that will do good for everybody. So he got tons of support. He got tons of contribution to his campaign. And they barely didn't do anything, right? Half of them got caught taking bribes. So when you fire them, now there's a lack of inspectors. Right, because some went to jail, some just got, written up and fired, but now we're missing those inspectors. So now the workload is even longer. Then Andrea Topola came. You remember we talked to her. She was talking about how to separate the solar from the regular building permit, because before it was on the same stack. Now they try to separate it. They brought AI. They brought an automated software to help them. However, everybody in the department is 800 years old, so they don't even know how to use.
Oh my God, bro.
They don't even know how to use,
That's
bro.
right.
The guy that came to train them, guess what? Baga resigned. He ran away. The guy that was supposed to train them,
Yes.
to train the staff, said, "Bro, no can work like that." Baga left. Now they have the system, but nobody know how to operate.
Yeah.
So can we protest to get a new staff?
Well,
Younger
yeah.
staff? People like, me? Like, I'm pretty sure I could learn a system.
Yeah, there's several ways to fix a system, right? One is you hire more staff, of course. That takes more money, and you got to train the staff. Who's going to do that? This is what they're trying to do right now in DPP. They're on a big hiring spree. Okay. The second thing you could do is to reduce.
I would love to, bro. If AI is involved, I don't understand why we can't move this at an
that's
exponential
true.
amount of time.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they can't pull money from the future, meaning, how's about I move 10, 20 times what you got now, you make way more money this year, and you can afford my salary.
Yeah, right.
Taking note, DPP.
The other one you could do is to change the law so that you can quicken the process. So you make it so that not as many solar permits need to get approvals, and you take those out of the backlog. So that was a good thing that Andrea Topola did, actually, and the rest of the council. But you can also just issue some kind of proclamation. This is what the governor is famous for doing. Emergency proclamation, right? And that means it lifts the whole department and all the rules. And now, quick, everyone go through, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they did for Lahaina. And that's actually good, by the way. I mean,
They just did it for the hurricane scare.
yeah, that's
They
right.
just
They
do
do
it
it
for
all the
anything,
time.
yeah.
I mean, if there's probably 20 emergency proclamations in place right now as we speak, and so, but it's the political will. Would it be okay with voters if I did this, and so on? That's the key thing. So there's many ways to skin a cat, but unless we have that pressure, now the people might not know exactly what the politicians have to do. They're not going to come and say, change subsection 3 of the HRS rules or anything, but they are going to say, quicken the process. And the more that they say that simple message, politicians have many means at their disposal to do that. So now the Grassroots Institute are the professional nerds here in the room that do come up with all the recommendations, the technical recommendations to speed up the process. And we just passed at the state legislature this year the shot clock bill, which is like, okay, every permit has a clock. And just like in basketball, you have to take a shot before the clock runs out. If it takes too long to get your permit through, it's automatically approved. And so now we tried to put that in. Now the department came in and said, except for this, except for that, except for this, except for that. And they put all kinds of asterisks around this bill. So it's a start and stop clock where you can start it and stop it now. And it's getting more complicated now. So we just said, just make it simple. And in any case, the bill passed and we'll see if it helps. But, it's just small bites at the apple.
But geez.
You know that there's also a law in Hawaii that if it's built 50 years or older, right?
That's right.
It requires an additional
yes, approvals,
approval.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
every building over here, every hotel was built around the 1950s. Like there's so many buildings in the state that were built more than 50 years, because right now we're in 2025, right?
Yeah.
So you talking about buildings that were built before 1975, which is the vast majority of the state. They demand another extra layer of shit for the fucking get approved.
That's right. But we changed that too, actually, this past year at the state legislature. We just passed it. This was Grassroots' main bill to make it so that if something's historic, then it should be truly historic, not just 50 years old. There should be some sort of, if there's a Hawaiian cultural component to this, if there's actually some sort of historic, story about this that's on the National Register or the State Register of Historic Properties. Okay, that's historic, absolutely, and we should protect those, and they should get a more stringent process. But my mother-in-law's home that was built, in 1974 or something. This is not historic. I mean, yes, my mother-in-law is historic in a sense, but it's like, okay, the Golden Girls are historic. Okay, sure.
Exactly, exactly. I feel like there's so many ways to soften and like it's so simple to take stuff out that is not applicable anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That rule, that bill probably was from the 75. So that means that they were referring to things that were built before 1925. But now we're already 100 years later. Half of this island is not even historic. Yeah. It's a walk-up building on Kapiolani, brah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think that all laws should have a review. Like, if you passed the law and you died, of old age, that law should go up for review. Do we really need this anymore?
Does it exist?
Because otherwise we're being ruled by the dead.
Yes.
And the more time goes on, the more laws that are made, and this stuff should automatically come off the books, I think. So
100%, I couldn't agree with you more. We need to revisit things that are not applicable, and people are not thinkers. They don't want to jeopardize. They're very conservative. They don't want to be the ones that are coming and saying, hey, let's take it out. They think that the more rules they are, the better they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the better they keep their jobs too, right? Because all they have to do is enforce. I come across people who I've come across people in agencies and in big places, and the reason they don't do certain things is because they don't want more work, even though it'll be more effective.
Yeah.
Because their particular time slot, 9 to 5, is already set. It's comfortable. If I add this, which would be beneficial, it would actually just mean more work for me with no additional pay. So you know what? Screw it. Leave it as it is. I ain't trying to do that.
That was a big factor in healthcare recently, by the way, where They wanted to allow more doctors into the state, but the state was saying, well, this is going to take so much of our time. You know, we need more staff to now vet all these new doctors coming in, and we don't have the money to do this, you know, at the state level. And so they, for years, denied these new doctors who, you know, they're licensed in all other states but Hawaii.
Dr.
You know?
Green, don't you?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
exactly.
you want this particular thing to be
Right.
the best in the world?
So now, thankfully, they actually, there's another one they passed. Boy, I'm thinking of a lot of good things today, huh? These are things they passed. So they actually passed it 2 years ago. Governor Green signed it.
Yeah, right on.
You know,
Josh.
hallelujah. And so now we can have more doctors in. But there's still a hang up with telehealth, though. You know, you can't call a doctor on the mainland right now and get help because it's illegal, you know, according to the state law. According to some old timer who passed a law way back when, you're not allowed to Zoom with a doctor on the mainland. So,
Wait, I broke the law a few times already.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Uh-oh.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, I didn't
Allegedly.
break the law. It's not me. I'm not the one providing the service.
get him right here. He's at the hideout right here. No, just kidding.
But Mr. Kaiser, we're gonna have to have
Oh.
a chat because
Oh,
if
man.
not, I'm gonna rat you out. Guys, I don't know. I talked to some lady in the mainland told me to take this medicine.
Oh, well,
I didn't know that.
if that person was licensed in Hawaii to practice, then yes, you can call them. But if they're not licensed to practice in Hawaii, then, and you don't have a prior relationship with them, then it's
So there's a lot
That's
of
a good
illegal.
question,
There's a
bro.
lot of companies that what they do is they provide medical help or consultation over Zoom, over the phone or whatnot.
Yes.
So you don't have to wait to see a specialist. You don't have
Yes.
to wait to, and you can actually reach out through teledoc, telehealth, telezibbi. There's all kind of different
But that's illegal?
companies. And in Hawaii, it is because they want you here.
See? Well, that's a good thing, first of all, to get more doctors here. But I was talking to this lady one time, bro, and she did not understand my gout, bro. Like, so I knew she wasn't from Hawaii. I was just like, bro,
Oh, wow.
sis, I don't know. Like, my leg is swollen, and I just think I have gout. And she's like, but do you have a fever? I'm like, no, but I can't walk. Like, well, are you feeling chills? I'm like, I know what gout is. Just give me my medicine.
Wow.
That's how I know she wasn't from Hawaii.
I see. Yeah.
Rah.
Yeah.
Classic though, classic.
But I've
That's a
talked to
skit
people.
by itself. That's a skit
No, that was-
right there. That's a comedy skit by itself,
That's
bro.
my
I'll
life.
put that on our Instagram, but
Yeah.
Grassroots Hawaii. So yeah, but yeah, I've talked to people who have tried to consult for like cancer, serious conditions or something, and you know they're calling a doctor in California, and the doctor says, "Oh wait, you're in Hawaii." Click. You know, like they can't talk to them anymore,
gosh.
and so there's this whole industry now of people in Hawaii who take an extended vacation on the mainland just so they can talk to a doctor there, like physically there, you know. And it's sad, but I think about like mental health, for example. This is another thing that's prevented by this law, and Hawaii's mental health needs are huge. Mental health is great on the phone or Zoom or things like that, and but this too needs. Now this is not a happy story yet. You know, yet we're trying to go for this next year. Well, hopefully we'll see some common sense. But it's another one of those things. Someone long ago, probably dead by now, made this law that we all have to abide by. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I always take the analogy of an iPhone, right? An iPhone you have to update all the time, right? You have to update all the time because there's bugs, there's this, they improve stuff, right? So you have to go. If not, your phone doesn't work, right? You have to go and you have to update.
Yeah, we need an update for Hawaii.
We need an update for Hawaii. We need to update and take out all the shit that doesn't make any sense and implement shit that makes sense and helps the people that live here and the things that just make sense.
Yeah.
Brah.
Yeah, and the biggest one is I wanted to put the permitting department as the first update. By the way, that doesn't just hurt housing. By the way, it's also energy, agriculture, businesses. It's like there's one organization that's at the center of slowing everything down in Hawaii. It's that permitting department, but not just the department, the zoning laws that go with it and everything. I mean, I was looking at the energy needs for Hawaii are huge. And of the past 5 years, half of the energy startups, like the projects and things, have all failed. So you think about like, there's like, I don't know, 40, 50 solar projects, wind projects, petroleum, all different types of energy plants. Half of them died, basically. This is millions and millions of dollars of investment that's no longer going to be. And if we can't replace the energy plants in Hawaii, which are like 90, pushing 100 years old right now, they don't even make parts for these things anymore, then it could be lights out. So, on Maui, for example, you've got the generators at Ma'alaia Harbor there. And those are, 80, 90 years old. Again, no parts can be made for these things. If there's a tsunami that like takes out those plants, the island won't see any energy for years. It could be blackouts for years on the island. Now, there are companies that are trying to build more power plants around Maui and everything, but they're getting stuck at the permitting department and the zoning process and all of that. So, yeah, this is a bigger issue than just housing. So.
They just need to hire 100 chronics.
Chronics?
Yes, on stationary bicycles. It'll power the entire island, bro. Just hang a fishing pole with a little bit of special at the end.
That's a brilliant.
Take it.
Easy for governor.
Yay! You got my vote, man. That's thinking outside the box.
But
bro.
I actually would be a part of that. Not the being a chronic, but but imagine if there was a gym that did that, right? Like you could, because I've seen, was it a Black Mirror episode where they pedaled, and people pedaling to power something. Like you had to spend most of your day pedaling a bicycle. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's hell out of the box, but
Well, Hawaii has, of course, there's nuclear. People always talk about that. That's a big, I don't know, are we supposed to talk about that on this show? I don't know.
yeah, it's
Then
whatever.
there's geothermal. Then there's petroleum, coal. There's all kinds of different solar.
Coal got canned, right? Is
Coal
that why we
got
lost?
canned,
That's why we
absolutely.
lost it in Barbers Point, which, ironically, after we started having all those blackouts,
Yes,
right?
yes,
and it's
yes.
like, all my friends in Anakuli on Facebook are like, and this is why we don't get rid of the coal.
Exactly. It was ironic. Right after the coal plant died, it's like we had all these mass blackouts, right? And I contacted, Hawaiian Electric, and I was like, "What's up? Is this because of the coal plant?" And they said, "No. This isn't because of the coal plant. This is something other things. Don't. It was cloudy that day, or whatever, And the main thing is the old petroleum plants that are still remaining are old and they're breaking down. That's the problem. And that goes back to coal, though, because if we don't have a backup coal power, or if it's not coal, if it's something else, if we don't have backup power, period.
Yeah.
If there's a cloudy day, if it rains for too many days in a row, we could have more blackouts. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeez.
That's ridiculous that instead of spending money on that, they spend on extending the rail that nobody
Right.
rides in the first place.
That's right. That's right. That's a good way to say it.
I mean, because the money going to be spent. Now, the question is where you're going to spend it. Are you going to spend it on something that is actually crucial, or are you going to spend it on,
Right.
the rail is not crucial. It's not something like the extension. What we paid already. That's gone. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about the extension.
Yeah, it's
the extension. This is not something. It's not a do or die. Energy is. How you gonna give electricity to the hospital? Right. The hospital. They have machines. They have whatever. This is first and foremost more important. What, you're going to do the extension to Ala Moana so people from Waina and Nanakuli can shop at the fucking Ala Moana shopping center?
No, they're not. Like, mind you, it's not going to Nanakuli and Waianae, so we don't care. The thing's starting at a beach.
Even,
That's true.
It's even more so.
Even more so.
It's just like, why?
Well,
Why?
ironically, if the power goes out, the rail won't run, though. So, you might get killed two birds with one stone there. But yeah, I think the nuclear, people talk about this, and actually at the Hawaii Energy Conference recently, they put this on the main stage panel. Okay, what about nuclear? Now, I haven't really looked into it that much, but people tell me it's like, oh no, it's clean now. It's safe now. Really? Okay. What about Fukushima? When the tsunami hit there and hit the nuclear plant, what would happen? And so all those types of questions need to be answered. But if you just look at the numbers, you could power the whole state very cheaply and very easily with a nuclear power plant.
And also take into consideration, there's only Fukushima and Chernobyl.
Right,
How
right.
many nuclear plants did you hear that shit hit the fan?
Yeah. It's actually very, very, very rare.
That's why
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
Chernobyl was 80 years, 70 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And Fukushima was because of a tsunami.
Yeah.
If you build it in a place where a tsunami cannot, hinder its operation or whatnot, even if it hits, then you eliminate a lot of the,
Yeah. The risk. Yeah.
the risk. And this is, to think people they know nuclear is a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
So they immediately, nuclear is bad.
Nuclear is kind of amazing, though.
But nuclear is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is the future.
Well, and we actually have nuclear here in nuclear subs, which are going around Pearl Harbor. So nuclear's here. It's powering the sub, right? And if they needed to, they could actually hook up the sub to the grid here on the land and power the whole island. I think,
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
So,
Yeah.
but
It's like a traveling
I know,
battery. under
yeah,
the
that's right.
ocean.
Just plug it in, right? Yeah, but there's a constitutional limitation here. Hawaii's constitution says you're not allowed to have nuclear, and so if you ever wanted to do like a nuclear plant, you'd have to, basically change the constitution. Now there is a not that I'm thinking of doing this, but there is a constitutional convention coming up soon. I don't know if it's next year or the following year. And the way that works is if the people vote for a constitutional convention, then one will happen. Now, the last time that happened was back in, the 70s, I think. And it was a bunch of young people. I think at the time, nobody really realized that young people were actually substantial and would rise up to the occasion. But all of these young people in the 70s, if you look at who was the conferees for the Constitutional Convention back then, it was like people in their 20s and 30s. And so I think the legislature, the powers that be at the time, kind of just ignored it. So now, could the same thing happen again? That's up to young people, really.
Ah, man.
But
You
are
guys
they
re-
too distracted on their phones with Instagram and
Or
TikTok?
do you guys really trust Ernesto at the nuclear power plant to make sure nobody
That's
comes
right.
inside?
Yes.
Hello, my friend. Oh, you nice mask, nice jacket. Come inside. Oh, the gun is a toy. Okay. I believe you. Come inside.
I believe you.
Yeah, that's right. Who are we trusting with this, really? Yeah.
I would be for a nuclear. I
Oh,
think
really?
it's-
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I think
okay.
it's interesting.
Yeah. I need to
Like-
learn about it more, but yeah.
It just seems like I'm at the point where only, in a fantasy world, only unconventional is going to work because everything we tried to do conventional just doesn't work out for us. It ends up getting spoiled, that by some dirty hands in the middle or somebody extremely greedy, to the point we need something unconventional so that we can at least figure out how we can maintain some power over
Yeah.
it.
But also, if you take coal out of the equation and gasoline out of the equation, and now you want to do everything net zero
Yeah.
by 2030,
Right.
then how will we have energy? Oh, trust the HECO, and then HECO says, oh, blackouts. And then they will control you. You cannot turn on the lights. You cannot shower right now. Don't turn on the water heater. You can only
Well, and did you see that Matson is no longer shipping electric car batteries to Hawaii anymore? So,
Right, yes,
So-
I've seen that.
right?
Yeah.
So because they put a ban on shipping, Matson imposed their own ban. This is not a government ban. This is the company saying, we can't ship these things, otherwise our boats might sink, right? And And this has happened if you look nationally, internationally. There's been so many cargo ships that are at the bottom of the ocean now due to fires. And a lot of these fires are from electric car batteries that now it's very rare that an electric car battery will start on fire, but if and when it does, you can't put it out. This is like impossible to put out, right? Like a regular gas fire or something, you put it out, with a sprinkler system or something. But these things just burn, and then they ignite others, and now you've got thermal runaway, and it just takes the whole ship.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So that's why Matson says we're not shipping these things. So I think the only carrier that's actually still shipping them to Hawaii is Pasha, which they could say the same thing. They could say, no, we're not going to ship these either. And now when it goes back to the net zero energy goals, how is Hawaii really going to reach these? I was looking at the graph. We're at 100%. We're supposed to get down to zero on net carbon. I think in the last 15 years they went down 5%. And now in the next 15 they're supposed to go down to zero. It's like, I don't think they're going to even reach that or come close to it.
Of course not.
So, but then if you think about the electric car batteries that are here, you take an old Tesla, and these things are getting old now. 10 years. Let's say it's 15 years old. The car's shot. The battery's old. You got a college student who bought it for, I don't know, $4,000 or something, and now they just want to get rid of it. So what do? Ship it off island, right? I'll just ship the car battery off island. Oh, wait, you can't ship these off island, right? Oh, I know. We'll just throw it in the landfill. Oh, no, you can't throw it in the landfill. It's toxic waste, right?
No.
Okay, so I know. We'll put it in a battery decommissioning facility in Hawaii. Oh, wait. These don't exist because they're illegal. There's some kind of administrative law that prevents these things from being built. Okay, so what is that college student going to do?
You ship it out to China.
Who's going to ship it?
He can't ship it off island. And all he's going to do is throw it in the ravine, right? This is what I'm predicting he'll do. Actually, there's a whole study that was written at the university about this problem. And they gave it to the legislators, who kind of yawned and said, really? And let's push it off until next year and do another study. But this is a real problem. You remember the wildfire in Lahaina. Now think about the wildfires that could start from old end-of-life batteries like this thrown into the ravine and sparking a wildfire. So we went down this whole pathway to become more renewable and help the environment, with electric cars. But so ironically, these things are not environmentally friendly. So yeah,
That's funny. That is so funny.
it's funny. I
had
know.
no idea.
Funny and sad are the same coin, aren't
True.
they? Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I like gas-powered vehicles because I've spent so much of my time learning about them that I'm comfortable. I don't want to. I understand them. These electric vehicles are a little bit too
I know.
different for me. Not my speed right now.
Well, you take your foot off the brake, the thing comes to a dead stop right in the middle of the highway.
So nuts, bro. I don't understand. It seems very convenient, and it looks like something that's very luxurious, and I get the allure. But again, I'm just not comfortable. And I'm sure there's people in my generation that feel the same way. The same way there's kupuna inside of the DPP that don't want to lose their jobs and don't want AI and they don't,
Right.
Well, and we're going to HTA,
Oh,
Hawaii Tourism Agency.
okay. You want to talk about the HTA, huh?
Yeah, what the hell happened?
Okay, well, HTA costs about $100 million a year, right? And everyone always says, hey, if we need to cut something in the budget. I always say, let's cut the HTA. This is a Hawaii Tourism Authority where we're paying tax dollars to advertise to tourists. Why? Hawaii is already in the minds of so many tourists. We already advertise the tourism industry itself already advertises on the mainland outside of this money. And so I say we should just cut it, but every year it keeps rising from the grave. 3 years ago they cut the agency, they defunded it. Then it somehow magically reappeared.
What do you
Then
mean
the next
magically
year-
reappeared? Who decided to give them funds again?
So the governor and has a pocket of money that he can use to kind of direct anywhere. That year, it was his first year, and he directed some money to keep the HTA going, even though it had lost all its funding. So that survived it for another year. Then the next year, there was another bid to stop it. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it just miraculously rises to life every year. Now, before, it was focused on, let's get as many tourists to Hawaii, right? And it seemed like weird to spend tax dollars on that activity. So now they've changed it to, let's prevent tourists from, dirtying the islands, basically. We're going to manage tourism and keep them away from the areas that we don't want, and so on, which, that's honorable too. But they've just passed this green fee as well, which garners $100 million to do that anyways. And you don't even need to do it with the HTA. You can do it in other ways. And so I still think we should get rid of this spending. But it's kind of become a political beast at this point. It just, keeps going and going. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that they have a lot of friends in very high places where, the state funnels to HTA, HTA funnels into promoting all the hotels and stuff like that. So those, they pay them back and they pay them
the
back.
convention
and
center, right, goes around and around. Absolutely. Yeah. But let's just call it what it is. It's a subsidy for an industry. We wouldn't subsidize the car industry, the restaurant industry. What industry can you name? Why is it that this one industry gets a big subsidy? Of course, it's because it's the number one industry in Hawaii. Okay. But I still think that the tourists would come. Are we really worried that the tourists aren't going to come?
Well, the thing is, you cannot really control, it's unmeasurable.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know if the tourists came from the HTA promotion, or did it come because their auntie was here 6 years ago and showed them
That's right.
pictures?
That's right.
So you cannot measure if their hard work is actually paying off. That's one. Two, they're all so old and they have no idea what they're doing, so they're not using the new ways of promoting Hawaii. And three, they're still running after the Japanese, trying to ignite something that has been dead for 5 years, without taking into consideration that the Japanese yen, the currency, is so weak right now.
Yeah, that's true.
That even if they're going to promise them a massage and a blowjob, they still not going to be able to come, because it's not worth it for them, because the hotel is too expensive, the flight is too expensive, the cost of living is too expensive, the food is too expensive. And for them, it's now 40% more.
Yeah. Well, they might come. They just might not show up.
Hey! Sorry, Joe.
I'm going to hide
Sorry,
behind
Mr. Ken. you know what? To me, it looks like they're the fall guy. They're set up there, where in case shit happens, okay, pin it here. Goodbye. We keep us safe, us being government, whatever, and pin it to these guys. If something ever happens, something so tragic that it would be bad PR or it would be some kind of mistake somebody made, they can easily pin it on them. Okay,
Yeah,
you're good.
yeah.
Yeah, was these guys, wasn't us, and that's what it seems like to me. You know, and like in the other industries I grew up in that were not like good, it would always be that you'd have somebody who'd be out there, the front, the face, and
As
then
a scapegoat. Yeah.
That's what it
But
seems like.
I
to
think
me.
that tourists, people who want to come to Hawaii, a lot of times they see it on Instagram, right? Or in a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not that they're looking at an airport billboard and say, oh, maybe, hey, honey, maybe we should go to Hawaii. Look at that billboard, I mean, people are advertised in different ways. You might be able to advertise Hawaii a lot more if you just got rid of the state film office, or got rid of all the regulations that kind of get in the way of film productions happening in Hawaii and just like, hey, look, Now, I think Hawaii does give a subsidy as well to the film industry. This is like a huge tax credit.
Or used to.
Used to. And I think it went away recently in the last legislative session. So, we're putting up barriers to film, and then we're spending the money to try to get tourists over here. It makes no sense, but yeah.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
It's because, and to me, it's always been because the state of Hawaii in general is rooted in corruption. The reason it became a state of Hawaii was via corruption, right? It used to be a country, or still is on paper, because there's no paperwork proving that it isn't, right? The Kingdom of Hawaii, with that whole, overthrow of the government and, having your own people, which those guys were citizens of the nation at the time, overthrowing the government. It's rooted in corruption. So anything, if that's the root of what the state of Hawaii is, well, of course it's going to grow into all of this, right? Because it's already built on that kind of energy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, corruption's based on systemic history and,
Right off
and
the
the
gate.
whole.
It
Yeah,
was-
the whole system's designed to be corrupt in a sense. Absolutely.
Because those backroom deals started from back when the kingdom was here and the queen was running everything. You had these group of people making their own backroom deals with the United States, and hey, send the Navy, send us a boat, and let's fucking point the guns at the
Right.
at
Yeah.
the
I never thought
government
about
here.
that, but you're right.
But that's the very beginning of what is now the state of Hawaii. It was built on, the Commission of Safety, which is Thurston and fucking Sanford Dole and all those guys who are actually citizens of Hawaii. They were born here. And they did that to their own country. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that we have corruption today, and that's a result of a big government. The bigger the government, the bigger the corruption. That's my saying. But if you want to address the corruption, you cannot fix corruption with a bigger government. You can't install an angel at the top of the government who's going to fix all of the corruption, because then who's going to keep that angel in check? You need another angel on top and another angel and so on. There are no angels in government. It's just human beings who do not care about you. They care about themselves, as people should, right? And I think we should have a smaller government, reduce all of the functions that government doesn't need to be doing tourism promotion. It doesn't need to be doing transportation like rail. It doesn't need to be running football games and so on. Get rid of all these things and keep government as small as possible. That's what I preach, because the smaller it is, the less corruption you have. Now, with a smaller government, now you have to be self-reliant. You have to take care of your own life now and take responsibility for what you produce and so on, and take care of your neighbor if you care about them and so on. But the less we rely on the government, look at the federal government, for example. They're cutting their budget, and everyone in Hawaii is like, oh no, we're gonna get peanuts now, right? Well, the secret is we always got peanuts from the federal government. Hawaii, I think, got the least amount of money from the feds compared to any state. So we're going from a bunch of peanuts to only a few peanuts. Okay. But, what I'm saying is we need to get used to not relying on that federal money, because, federal money is poison, really. So the more, okay, yes, we're going through a federal reduction, but I say let's get used to it and let's just live within our own means, We don't remember, federal money started the rail. It was federal dollars that, they gave what, $1.5 billion to the rail, and then we all paid $9 billion more to keep it going. Otherwise, oh no, we're going to lose that $1 billion. That was the whole scheme. So yeah. Anyways, I think there is a way to deal with corruption, but you can't do it through little snips. You have to do it through big changes to keep the government smaller. So yeah, just my philosophy.
So,
Well, it does make sense.
Yeah.
well, in a dream scenario, right? As a solution,
Yeah.
all bets are off. The world will move to your ideas and your
Yes,
vision
yes.
of how
Everyone
to
will
curate.
become like me, right?
Yes, Joe Ken.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I mean, what
Okay.
would be the move? Because that's one thing that, us as people who go online and find these things and complain could use.
Yeah.
Is where do we start? What would be the Kickstarter? Or somebody who could be a leader but doesn't know where to start.
Well, the ironic thing about leadership, who you want to lead you in government, you want to find someone who does not want to be a leader. If you find someone who wants to be a leader and they're like, oh yes, I want the power, I want everything, right? That's like dangerous. I usually vote for the other guy, the guy who's like, a $5 candidate who just ran because his wife thought that he should, or his neighbors liked him and all this, but he's not good in front of a microphone. Someone like, I don't know. So it's funny because you'll see homeless people run a lot too. I'm like, I always vote for them too, because like, hey, that would actually be good.
So did you vote for Boo?
Bulaia?
Yeah.
What did he run? I can't remember
He
when he
ran
ran.
in the Cayetano era, I think.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't here then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was. I grew up in Hawaii, but I went to the mainland for a time, and that's
you missed out.
I missed out. Shucks. But but otherwise, you need to find someone who's not afraid to be unpopular. That's the main thing, because that's what it takes to actually get things done. And it's so ironic because the only way to win is to become popular. So it's like the ultimate. It's like the Lord of the Rings. Remember, the Hobbit had the Ring of Power, and he was the only one who could carry it and throw it into the Ring of Fire, the volcano. That's really similar to politics. You'd have to find someone who doesn't mind relinquishing their own power and reducing the size of government. And we're seeing that with DOGE, for example, at the federal level, the Department of Government Efficiency. They're trying to hack away at the system. But even that is peanuts. It's a drop in the bucket on what they actually need to cut. They're cutting billions. They need to cut trillions in order to make a difference. So
Let's give them some. Let's be patient and let's cut them some slack. They do start. They do something, and the things that the list that you guys are aware why they why what happened lately, right? Where they read the whole list of the stuff that they cut out, and actually the Democrats shut down the government because they wanted back in. So
yeah, that's right.
I forgot this senator's name that he just read all those things that they're spending money on, and to be honest, I thought it's a comedy skit.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why the federal government needs to pay for electric buses in Rwanda.
Yeah.
Or
Or
for
a play, right? A playwright to be made in another country. Yeah, there was a tons.
and millions.
Yeah.
And millions. So you know for a fact that someone sneaked it into a bill, so that fund's going to go there, and of course they're going to get it back and they're going to get paid. I mean, it's so obvious. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to. You don't have to be nothing. You just need to listen and understand that this is something so ridiculous that it doesn't even make sense. You cannot even comprehend who is the son of a gun that put it in there.
Well, the thing I like about Doge is the use of AI to watch what the government's doing. I think that's a great use of AI.
Yeah.
And what they did, they found some high school or college programmers.
Yes.
Some of them, some of them were really young, and they figured out how to basically hack the government system using AI to look at all, and of course they gave them permissions and so on to look at all of the spending and compare it and see really what's the most ridiculous thing that we've spent on. They came up with that list. Well, we can do the same thing in Hawaii, by the
Yes.
way. Nothing's stopping us from using AI to watch what the government's doing. In fact, I have a secret project at the Grassroots Institute called Open Hearings, which is at openhearings.com. And and anyone can go there. What it does is it automatically transcribes every single government body in Hawaii live, real time, and puts it on the internet for anyone to see. And you can ask it questions. Did anyone say something that's corrupt? Did anyone say anything that was embarrassing in this? At what time code did they pass the vote? Did anyone talk about tax hikes coming down the line? And you can subscribe to this openhearings.com newsletter that's part of the site, and it'll tell you, hey, yesterday they started talking about they want a big tax hike in your neighborhood, or oh, they want another big boondoggle coming down the line. And so at Grassroots Institute, we've actually used AI to plug it into Hawaii's whole government. And that's how we have found all of these different stories. But we're like, you know what? We should just make this public so that anyone can use it and try it out.
So the not so secret site is
openhearings.com.
.com.
Yes, openhearings.com. And you can sign up for free. You can use it and ask all kinds of questions and search for corruption, do whatever you want.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful.
yeah.
I put it right next to the
And this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly, so.
Yo, that's crazy. And so like it already has the transcripts from everyone.
For a year now. Yeah. It's been,
Really?
it's
So if there's
been-
one tonight, like in Kaneohe
Yep.
at the board meeting,
Yep.
I can dip into there,
Yep.
can have them break it down into 100 words or less.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's epic.
Yes.
oh,
Go, brother.
bruh,
Thank
and
you.
this is what we need.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
thank
Like,
you.
us using more of this technology because, first of all, we better get on it before some foreign country does and starts digging into our system and figuring our way of life,
But there's a lot more. I mean, we're doing all of the hearings. I'm talking about the State Land Use Commission, all of the neighborhood boards, the Water Commission, the state legislature, the county councils, the Liquor Commission,
God.
the rail, every single government body we're connected to. And if we're not, we're trying, but there's even more, by the way. There's the court. What about the court systems, right? What about the public utilities commissions? There's huge dockets there. What about all of the administrative law? I mean, Hawaii's government bureaucracy is so big. It's like a whole planetary ecosystem or something. So there's a lot of room for us to go further in this direction. Wow. So this is open hearings, which is just transcripts. But what about budgets? What about bills and all kinds? So I think that the future is bright for the use of AI to hold the government accountable. So and my prediction is that in the future, news organizations are going to be using AI to get their stories, and what the news organizations are going to be doing is to vet the story, because you don't know if you can trust AI, of course, so you always have to be careful with that. But they're also going to be going to real people and getting their opinion. This is something AI can't do, getting their actual quotes and stuff. So journalism's going to use it, but also regular people are. How would you like to get a simple email with one sentence that told you everything you needed to know, about what you personally care about? Let's say you care about fishing. Okay, hey, there's a fishing ban that's going on right now in your neighborhood or something like that. Okay, or maybe it tweets at you or whatever format you want. So I think that in the future, people are going to find different ways to hold the government accountable. It's not going to look the same. And that means that any lawmaker or someone in power is going to feel a lot more pressure from the public. So I'm really optimistic.
You're gonna be a lot more informed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whew, brah. Let's go, Joel.
Let's
go. I love this.
That's a real good filter to put on top of all of those talks to really figure out what is good, what is bad, and what we should pay more attention to.
Yeah,
I think that's
right.
a brilliant angle that you guys are created. For us, the small person that doesn't have the time to go there and listen and can just get it, it's beautiful.
And a lot of us don't even speak the language, so half the time we would have to listen and then research
Oh, you know,
does this mean?
I actually had it give me the news in pidgin. You know, it was like, oh, brah, today we got one big bug of a bill. You know,
Let's go.
so you can give it. You can give it to. You can do it in Chinese, like, you know, or Filipino or whatever language you want. And there's a lot of
Wow.
people who don't speak English that live in Hawaii that want to know what's going on. So maybe this could help them too. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, you guys are magicians, bro.
Well, I think we're just the first, you know, but there's going to be more people doing this. Yeah, look at Civil Beat, for example. They have a new AI digital democracy site that does something similar, but for the state legislature. So this is going to be a movement of accountability, I think, and rather than being, you know, have the wave crash over us, we want to be part of the wave. So yeah.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I kind of wanted to ask you about voter fraud that came up 2 weeks ago, and I know there've been talks on Hungry Hawaiian and Hawaii News Report. They were talking about that, and I wanted just to know if you have any idea or some insights about what happened.
Well, I actually contacted the State Elections Commission about the voter rolls, you know. And my question is, when someone dies, how does the Elections Commission know that they died? You know, are they taking off the voter rolls? You know, where do they see this? Or does it just accumulate for years and years to where you've got way more people, you know, registered to vote than actually who can vote? And it seems to be the latter. You know, I asked them all these questions, and they kind of gave me the runaround from what I remember. This was several years ago, but now it looks like we've got a court case about this very thing. You're not allowed to do that, and you've got to purge the rolls. And the elections commissioner, Scott Nago, seems to be at the center of this case. So I guess we'll see what happens. But, you know, it's even like weird. Have you ever voted and then someone in your family is like, oh, can you just vote for me? You know?
All the time.
Well, wait a second. Is that illegal? You know, I don't think we're supposed to be doing that, you know? And this happens frequently. I know, I just have casual conversations with people, and people say it all the time. Oh yeah, my son went to college, my daughter's on the mainland, you know, my wife's too busy, they just asked me to vote for them. And so now you got one person voting for people. You know, you're not supposed to do that. But okay, what if one of those people is passed away, or what if they sent the wrong ballot to you and all that? So we've got, not only do we have problems with the voter rolls, we have that plus mail ballots, which puts all of this power in the hands of, well, you know, it could be nefarious actors voting on your behalf or something. So yeah, I actually like the old way where we all had to go to the, you know, the physical location. As painful as that was, you know, you got lines out the door, and did you vote today, and all that, and that's actually more accurate, at least, because at least we know, okay, the person was there, they showed up. Now what happens after, you know, who counts the votes, that's a whole nother question, but you know.
I like the nostalgia of it. You know, there's one thing that everybody seems to trust, and that's Bitcoin. Right,
yes,
digitally,
yes,
because
yes.
of the blockchain.
Right.
Right. So why couldn't you apply the same
Yes.
blockchain to a voter? So everybody show up. That way the kupuna no got to worry
That's
about
true.
how to handle a smartphone, and young people can show up, and the whole feeling of voting and being a part of it's actually there. And you hit your vote into the blockchain, you remove the human error,
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
which is the biggest issue of it all.
Right. I
Right?
actually talked to a developer who was in Mexico talking about using blockchain voting, and he's installing this in several countries, and I believe he was actually getting some funding from Hawaii, if I am not mistaken. So maybe it'll come here. That would be kind of interesting.
I
but
think that's genius because
Yeah.
that's traceable.
Yeah, everything
You
goes
can
back.
backtrack.
Yeah.
So it's easy, right? It goes back to your name, and again, with the power of technology, you could literally put, okay, how many votes from this county, this address, and it'll just lock it up to your login or your sign up, and
Yeah, but my caution is there's always a way around the system. Okay, you get all of the vote tallies from the Bitcoin or from the cryptocurrency, the blockchain voting system, but now who reads the votes, and who tallies them and who gives them, or how is this app really distributed amongst the people and so on, and how do you register online with the app and make sure that it's with your driver's license. And so the blockchain might work, but all of the other plugins need to work as well, I think. So, but it could
probably
happen.
there will never be something that is bulletproof.
Right.
But what we had in Hawaii lately, where there's more votes than registered voters,
yeah.
this is completely unacceptable because there is no other word to call it than fraud.
Yes.
If there's more votes
Yeah.
than registered voters, where is this extra coming from? Is it dead people? Is it someone exponentially, this is fraud.
Yeah.
And if we know that we live in a land, in a country where our vote doesn't matter, then what are we doing?
Yeah. And some of these elections come down to 600, 700 votes or something, can make a whole election from one governor to another, for example. So yeah, absolutely, it matters.
So it's Trump chicken fight after.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If your spread's
Yeah, if
less
you're-
than 1,000, you guys bang, bro. That's it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there is one trusted person we can count on to count these votes.
Who's
His
that?
name is the Hungry Hawaiian.
Oh, there you go. I thought you were going to say Bulaia. So yeah.
Brother, he was the bro. Same thing. Voter fraud happened for him.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What happened?
So Cayetano cheated, bro. We all know.
Oh,
I cannot give you details, bro. You had to have been there, but we
see.
was there. And we know.
oh okay.
We know.
allegedly.
See. Allegedly. Right.
Allegedly.
Right.
No bullshit.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming again and sharing your knowledge. And, to see someone that cares as much as you and your team at Grassroots Hawaii means a lot to people like ourselves that don't have the time and maybe the knowledge and the understanding to take all of those information and break it down. I think that the app that you guys created is sensational. It's very avant-garde, and it's really shows us that you guys care and you want to educate us. You want us to know.
Yeah, thank you, because a lot of times people like us, we don't know what questions to ask. We just know it feels wrong.
Yeah.
You just feel it like, oh, something's wrong, and then here you guys are to help us, think.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I mean, I can only speak if someone listens, so I appreciate you guys being interested and your audience too. Openhearings.com is that app that you can get to, but I think the future's bright, actually.
Wait, did you say app? Not like smartphone app, huh?
You can use it on your smartphone, you can do it on a website, you can do all kinds of stuff. So openhearings.com, and you
Already
can
here.
watch what the government's doing. So there
Yep.
you go.
I'm
You got
already
it.
there.
There you go. There,
Yeah.
keep watch over your state's government.
Yeah, this
Perfect.
is cool. It's right next to my tab of DPP Hire Hawaii. Because trust me, if I get in there, we getting in there.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your
Appreciate
time.
it.
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
And vote Joe Kent.
Heck yeah.
I'm not running.
Maybe running away.
Yeah, running away. That's right. Yeah.
All right. Episode 83. Remember, you'll see us again next week with a new guest where Aloha talks and bullshit walks. See you next week.
Yes, sir.